Today, I forget how to stand. Alex races the setting sun, and we learn why local pilots were and are so important. Unfortunately, it's that time of year. There's a nip in the air, winter's fast approaching, so we're going to a new marina to haul out the boat. But we've got quite a journey ahead of us, so let's get those sails up. A morning mist settled over the beautiful Bredor, making the narrow twists and turns of the passage out to the main lake all the more magical. But it was a long day ahead, so we set off as early as possible to make it to our destination before dark. This journey would have us sailing through new passages across unknown bays and into unfamiliar harbors. A journey that in the past would have come with a little help. During the Age of Sail, foreign ships' captains had a reliable way to maneuver through narrow passages and harbors with their huge ships, even when they themselves knew little of the lay of the land. Because, as early as the 6th century BCE, local pilots were guiding vessels into harbors, making this one of the oldest maritime professions, crucial to the exchange of goods throughout time. In essence, the pilot's job was to guide the shipmaster and helmsman into the harbor, pointing out the locations of underwater hazards. So, having local knowledge was prized in this role, as they would be most familiar with the currents and dangers of the area, including the composition of the bottom and depth of water. Especially given that, during the Age of Sail, determining the attributes of the harbor were time-consuming and tedious. Consider the lead line, which you can learn more about in our depth sounding video. With many unknowns below the surface, you can understand that accidents could easily happen without a local pilot's experienced hand. As we emerged from the foggy passage, the sun finally broke through the fog, and the main Bredor Lake stretched clearly before us. But soon enough, a familiar voice came over our radio. Our very experienced local friend, who we were traveling with at this point, had an unexpected warning. A sandbar was dead ahead. We checked our chart plotter and nothing looked alarming. We were in the middle of an inland sea. But sure enough, when we zoomed in, a little buoy appeared on the screen, and the shallowness of this sandbar became very apparent. Quickly, we turned the wheel, all while trying to keep our wind. Keeping this course, we soon realized just how close we had come to sailing into a huge underwater sandbar. We knew we were lucky to have our very own local pilot on this adventure, because without that warning, we may have very well come aground. And while local pilots such as fishermen and local indigenous peoples were particularly prized, pilots came from different backgrounds, as experienced mariners, members of an organization of pilots, or even a crew member. This job was so important it garnered a very generous fee. In fact, at times the penalties for any pilot who lost a ship could be quite severe, including beheading and hanging. But eventually, the Pilotage Acts came into effect across Europe in the 17th century. These creating a professional status for pilots. And, of course, professional pilots continue to guide ships in and out of harbors today. For us, as the sun began setting and a fog bank started rolling in, we were still sailing, exhausted after a day of unpredictable wind. But we were determined to arrive before the sun set. So we began readying the boat to eventually arrive. Move along. Goodbye. Move along. Finally, with the last of the light, we spotted the marina dead ahead. 8.5 hours after we had left that morning. As we approached with the fog bank closing in, we called to our buddy boat as he'd arrived ahead of us and asked where we should park ourselves once in. Acting as our pilot, he guided us into this new, narrower marina. This long day of sailing really had us reflecting on all we've learned, how far we've come and all of the experiences we've had. And we're just blown away by this season, all it's given us. Our confidence sailing, and particularly docking, have so improved, and that we feel so much better after just one season is so exciting. Thinking about how nervous we once were about docking, which we also have a video on, Coming into this new marina slowly and calmly, we could really see how much we've grown. But we were still so grateful to have a hand with our lines once we arrived, which is one of the many reasons we really appreciate the sailing community. Oops! But even with some confidence, it doesn't mean we're pretty. But what is pretty is this place, and what an amazing way to end this season and start the next. Thanks for checking out this video. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. And if you want more history, head over to our website where you can find in-depth articles and sources.